हे कृष्णा करुणा सिंधु दीनबंधु जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिका कांता राधा कांता नमस्तुते। तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्येव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्त वृंदा। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। नमो ओं विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिनिति नामिने। नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे। मूकं करोति वाचालं पङ्गुं लङ्घयते गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे श्रीगुरुं दीनतारिणं परमानन्दमाधवं श्रीचैतन्येश्वरम्। जय जय श्री चैतन्य जय नित्यानंदा जय अद्वैत चंद्र जय गौर भक्त वृंदा। जय जय श्री चैतन्य जय नित्यानंदा जय अद्वैत चंद्र जय गौर भक्त वृंदा। जय जय श्री चैतन्य जय नित्यानंदा जय अद्वैत चंद्र जय गौर भक्त वृंदा। All glories to Lord Chaitanya, all glories to Lord Nityananda, all glories to Advaita Chandra, and all glories to all the devotees of Lord Chaitanya.
So we were in chapter 14 of Madhya Lila. We were discussing about the performance of Vrindavan pastimes, and we have completed till verse number 115. So today's section we will be seeing various sections are there, beginning from the first section. Why Lord Jagannath doesn't take Lakshmi Devi to Gundicha, verse number 116 to 127. Rasa Vishesha Prabhu Shunitmana Haila Ishadha Hasiya Prabhu Swarupe Puchila. After taking his seat, Sri Chaitanya Mahāprabhu wanted to hear about a particular mellow of devotional service. Therefore, mildly smiling, he began to question Swarup Damodar. So we have heard that the Rath Yatra festival, the Rath has reached, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is having these conversation with Swarup Damodar. So here Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is approaching another new topic, a different topic.
They're already at Gundicha temple and their Hera Panchami festival.
Yeah, they have completed. That's what the Rath has reached, and here it is. यद्यपि जगन्नाथ करेण द्वारकाया विहार सहज प्रकट करे परम उदार तथापि वत्सर मध्ये आय एक बार वृंदावन देखि ताम्र उत्कंठा अपार.
Although Lord Jagannath enjoys his pastimes at Dwarka Dham and naturally manifests sublime liberality there, still once a year he becomes unlimitedly eager to see Vrindavan. So here it's mentioned that Lord Jagannath as Lord Krishna enjoys his wonderful pastimes at Dwarka Dham and naturally manifests sublime liberality there. So he is very, very liberal with the Dwarka Vasis, the devotees there. And he's completely enjoying his pastimes in Dwarka. Yet, once in a year, he becomes very utkantha, very
anxious.
Greatly eager, unlimitedly eager. There is no limit to that eagerness of the Lord to see Vrindavan. So once in a year, that situation arises.
Vṛndāvana samahe upavan gana ताहा देखि बारे उत्कंठित हायमाना pointing out the neighboring gardens, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, all these gardens exactly resemble Vrindavan. Therefore, Lord Jagannath is very eager to see them again. So now he is pointing out to the gardens near Gundicha temple, and he's saying that all this place, this entire place, actually it resembles Vrindavan. So Jagannath, Krishna in form of Jagannath is happily staying in Puri, Jagannath Puri temple for 1 year. But once a year, he is so eager to see this Vrindavan, and when he comes here, he feels Vrindavan because this place exactly resembles Vrindavan. Bahira haite kare rath yatra chala Sundara chalaya Prabhu chadi Lila chala.
Externally, he gives the excuse that he wants to participate in the Rath Yatra festival, but actually he wants to leave Jagannath Puri and go to Sundarachal, the Gundicha temple, a replica of Vrindavan. So although Lord is giving excuse that he wants to go out and participate in the Rath Yatra, but the Lord wants to leave Neelachal or Jagannath Puri and go to Sundarachal, which is Vrindavan. So once a year, Jagannath becomes very, very eager to leave his, the entire year he stays in Jagannath Puri, but once in a year he wants to go to Sundarachal.
Nana pushpodyane tatha khele ratri dine Lakshmi Devi sange nahi laya ki karane. So Mahaprabhu is now coming to the point. He has broached this topic. And what's the topic? That why he does not take Lakshmi Devi with him. So he comes for Rath Yatra, and we see that he comes with his brother Balaram and sister Subhadra. So the Lord enjoys his pastimes day and night in various flower gardens there. But why does he not take Lakshmi Devi, the goddess of fortune, with him? That is the question. Swarupa Heshuna Prabhu Karana Ihara Vṛndāvana Kridate Lakshmi Nahi Adhikara.
Saru Damodar replied, my dear Lord, please hear the reason for this. Lakshmi Devi, the goddess of fortune, cannot be admitted to the pastimes of Vrindavan. So Sundarachal or Gundicha is not different from Vrindavan, and Lakshmi Devi is not admitted. So there is a place, there is an abode where Lakshmi Devi cannot enter. So that is Vrindavan or Sundarachal.
Vṛndāvana Lila Krishna Sahai Gopi Gana Gopi Gana Vina Krishna Haritena Mana. In the pastimes of Vrindavan, the only assistants are the gopis. But for the gopis, no one can attract the mind of Krishna. So the way the gopis can attract the mind of Krishna, nobody can. And why gopis are so powerful in their, and why Krishna gets attracted to the gopis? So that is because of their devotion and surrender. So to the degree the devotee is surrendered to Krishna, to the degree the devotee aligns his desire with the desire of Krishna, to that degree he can actually attract Krishna. Prabhu kahe yatra chale Krishna ragamana Subhadra ar Baladeva sange doi jana.
The Lord said, using the car festival as an excuse, Krishna goes there with Subhadra and Baladev. So car festival is only an excuse for the Lord to leave Dwarka and go to Vrindavan along with his brother and sister.
Gopi sange yata lila haya upavane Nigudha Krishnera bhava keha nahi jane. All the pastimes with the gopis that take place in those gardens are very confidential ecstasies of Lord Krishna. No one knows them. So when Krishna comes, when Jagannath comes to Gundicha, or when Krishna comes to Vrindavan, so all the pastimes are very, very deeply confidential pastimes happen, and general people are not allowed entry there, and they cannot understand that subject matter. Ateva Krishner prakatya nahi kechu dosha tabe kene Lakshmi Devi kare tarosha.
Since there is no fault at all in Krishna's pastimes, why does the goddess of fortune become angry? So in Hera Panchami festival, we see that the goddess is very angry, and her assistants are very angry, and they're beating the assistants of Jagannath. So that's the question being raised here, that in Krishna's pastime there cannot be any fault. Krishna is perfect. His activities, his pastimes, everything is perfect. So then why even goddess of fortune, Lakshmi Devi, has to become angry in the first place?
स्वरूप कहे प्रेमावती रेता स्वभाव कांतेरा औदास्य लेशे haya krodha bhava. Swarup Damodar replied, "It is the nature of a girl afflicted by love to become immediately angry upon finding any neglect on the part of her lover." So now in this case, Lakshmi ji is feeling neglected because Krishna has gone with his brother and sister and he has not taken Lakshmi ji along with him to for the Rath Yatra festival, and for 8 days he will not be there with her. So that is why Lakshmi Devi gets angry. So just like a girl, if her lover neglects her, ignores her, then she becomes immediately angry. So similarly, Lakshmi Devi here becomes angry at Krishna. So next section, Lakshmi Devi arrives at Gundicha.
Oops. He na kale kachit ya he vividha pratana suvarne ka chaudo lakha arohana. While Sarup Damodar and Sri Chaitanya Mahāprabhu were talking, the procession of the goddess of fortune came by. She was riding upon a golden palanquin carried by 4 men and bedecked with a variety of jewels. So as Sarup Damodar and Chaitanya Mahāprabhu were discussing all this, suddenly the procession of Lakshmi Devi came there, and very, very gorgeously she was dressed. Chhatra chamar dhwaja pataka gana nana vadya age nache devadasi gana.
So Lakshmi Devi does not come alone. Here's a description of her associates and the paraphernalia. The palanquin was also surrounded by people carrying umbrella, chamar whisks and flags, and it was preceded by musicians and dancing girls. Tambula samputa jhari vyajana chamara sathe dasi shatahara divya bhushambara.
The maid servants were carrying water pitchers, chamara whisks, and boxes of betel nuts. There were hundreds of maid servants, all attractively dressed and wearing valuable necklaces. So it was not just the Lakshmi Devi was very beautifully, gorgeously dressed with all the jewels, but her whole retinue, the whole procession, everyone was very, very abundantly dressed, all attractively dressed. They were wearing valuable necklaces, they were carrying water pitchers, betel nut boxes, and chamara whisks, and there were hundreds of them. So if you remember, the king had already ordered that when this festival will happen, the festival should be celebrated with grandeur. And then he said that you take all the cloth and other items that are available in the Jagannath's store and my store. You take all of them and celebrate it in a very astonishing way.
Alaukika aishwarya sange bahu parivara Kruddhana Lakshmi Devi Aila Simhadwara. In an angry mood, the goddess of fortune arrived at the main gate of the temple accompanied by many members of her family, all of whom exhibited uncommon opulence. So of course, Lakshmi Devi herself and her associates, if they will not be opulent, then who will be? So they are exhibiting extraordinary, uncommon opulences, but in a very angry mood. So she has come to the main gate, the Simhadwar of the temple.
With many members of her family. The whole
all supporters, the full gang. Jagannath mukhya yata bratya gane Lakshmi Devi dasi gana karena bandhane.
When the procession arrived, the maid servants of Goddess of Fortune began to arrest all the principal servants of Lord Jagannath.
Bandhiya aniya pade Lakshmi racharane Chore yena danda kari layanana dhane. So see, Lakshmi Devi had his own gang, and they were all in the same mood as Lakshmi Devi because they could see that their goddess is so disturbed and angry. So they were also very angry, and they came and they tied the servants of Jagannath. And now what is happening? The maid servants bound the servants of Jagannath, handcuffed them, and made them fall down at the lotus feet of the goddess of fortune, Pade Lakshmi Ra Charane. So they were pushed to the feet of Lakshmi Devi. Indeed, they were arrested just like thieves who have all their riches taken away. So though Jagannath is so powerful and his servants would also be equally powerful, but here is Lakshmi Devi who's so angry, and then like they surrendered, the servants surrendered, and they were all handcuffed and they were treated like thieves. Achetan vatare kare na tadane Nana mata gali dena Vṛndāvana.
Achetana vat tare karena tadane. When the servants fell down before the lotus feet of the goddess of fortune, they almost fell unconscious. Achetan. They almost lost their consciousness. They were chastised and made the butt of jokes and loose language. So this was what was happening. Jagannath was not there. His servants were there, and all of them they were being harassed by the members of the retinue of goddess of fortune, and they were made butt of jokes. Nana mata gali dena bhanda vachane. So they were made, loose language was being used. Gali, they were giving gali to them, and they were made butt of jokes.
Lakshmi sange dasi gane pragalbhya dekhiya Hase Mahaprabhur Gana Mukhe Hasta Diya. When Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's associates saw such impudence exhibited by the maidservants of the goddess of fortune, they covered their faces with their hands and began to smile. So they found it very funny, but then they did not want to, to show that. So they were hiding and yet they were smiling. Jagannath's servants' condition when they saw, they were also like laughing at them. So verse number 136 to 154. Now this is a section which is a little, can we say esoteric? So this is an esoteric section. Here the discussion is about the egoistic pride and anger of the Lord's consort. So we will see, if we go in this section, we find that there are three types of ladies who interact, the consorts of Lord. There are three different moods in which they connect with the Supreme Lord. So it is such detail where we consider ourselves unqualified to discuss that subject matter. So we are skipping this section and we go to the next section.
So we request you to go to Chaitanya Charitamrta, Madhya Lila, chapter 14. Go through these verses on your own, 136 to 154.
And the next section is 155 to 202. The qualities of Krishna, the gopis and Srimati Radharani. Damodar kahe Krishna rasika shikhara rasa aswadaka rasa maya kalevara.
Damodar Goswami said, Krishna is the master of all transcendental mellows and the taster of all transcendental mellows, and his body is composed of transcendental bliss. So Damodar kahe Krishna rasika shekhar. He is the master of transcendental mellow. So there are different rasas. We have discussed this earlier as well. There are five primary rasas: the Shantaras, the Dasiras, the Sakhiras, Vatsalya ras, and Madhurya ras. And Krishna is the master of all these transcendental mellows. So these are not mundane mellows. These are not the taste which one experiences in relationships in the material world, that is mundane rasa. Here Krishna's rasa, rasika shekhar, he tastes the mellows in the transcendental relationships in the spiritual world. They are all spiritual relationships and the spiritual taste that comes from them. And Krishna is the master of them. So devotees in different rasas situated in these different relationships, they give a specific type of happiness to the Lord, and the Lord reciprocates with them in that particular mood, and the devotees also taste that particular taste of that relationship. So here Krishna is Rasika Shekhar and he is Rasa Aswadaka, the taster of all transcendental mellows. So Krishna tastes these mellows, and the way Krishna exhibits the extent to which, infinite extent to which Krishna exhibits and can reciprocate with his devotees in these different rasas is astonishing. So he's the taster of these transcendental mellows, and rasamay kalevar, his form, the form of the Lord. We may see a human-like form. We may see, two eyes and ears and two hands and two legs, and the form appears like that of a human being. But that form is completely spiritual. It is transcendental. It is here. It's mentioned rasamaya kalevar. That form, which we as described in the scriptures, is composed of transcendental bliss, not made of skin, bone, flesh, blood, marrow, and other things. The Lord's body is not made of it. It is made up of transcendental bliss.
Premamaya Vapu Krishna Bhakta Prema Dina Shuddha Prema Rasa Gune Gopika Praveena. So here again the discussion of Krishna's qualities there, and the last line talks about the qualities of the gopis. So it says, Krishna is full of ecstatic love and always subordinate to the love of his devotees. The gopis are very much experienced in pure love and in the dealings of transcendental mellows. So Krishna is full of love and he gets controlled by that love. So though the devotees are subordinate to Krishna, yet because of their love, he becomes subordinate to the devotees. And among such devotees, the gopis are like expert. They have experienced the pure love of Krishna. Gopikara preme nahi rasa bhas dosha Ataiva Krishnir kare parama santosha.
There is no flaw or adulteration in the love of the gopis. Gopikara preme nahi rasa bhas dosha. So there is no rasa bhas, fault of rasa bhas in their love, of gopis' love for Krishna. Their thoughts, their words, their actions, their desires, all of them are completely pure, and there is no rasa bhas. So they are completely situated in Madhurya ras. Ataiva Krishna kare parama santosha, and therefore they give Krishna param santosh. No, we know there are unlimited devotees of the Lord, and we see that in the material world they are devotees of the Lord. We understand that Brahma is a devotee of the Lord, Lord Shiva is a devotee. Then we see that Lakshmi Devi is a devotee. Then similarly we see many devotees. Prahlad is a devotee. Dhruv Maharaj is a devotee of the Lord. So many devotees are described in Srimad Bhagavatam and other scriptures. But among all those devotees, which devotee gives the most satisfaction and most happiness to the Lord? Here it's mentioned, gopis. Gopi Gana Madhya Shrestha Radha Thakurani Nirmala Ujjvala Rasa Prema Ratna Khani.
Of all the gopis, Srimati Radharani is the chief, Shresht Radha Thakurani. So she is the chief of all the gopis. She is a jewel mine of ecstatic love and the source of all purified transcendental conjugal mellows. So all this transcendental dealings with Krishna in the relationship of conjugal love, it all originates from Srimati Radharani. She is the source of all that. So that is how glorious and amazing Radharani is. Vyase madhyamate ho svabhavite sama Gadha prema bhavite ho nirantara vama. Radharani is grown up and her character is equipoised. She is always deeply absorbed in ecstatic love and always feeling in the mood of a left-wing gopi. So now all these gopis, they are divided into two categories, left-wing gopis and right-wing gopis. So Srila Prabhupada quotes there Rupa Goswami, and he mentions there that the gopi who's always eager to get, like, she becomes jealous very fast, she gets angry, and who's very enthusiastic for her position. So she fights with her lover in that mood, and who immediately becomes angry when defeated. So if Krishna would defeat Srimati Radharani, she would immediately get angry. She has a lot of man, who's never under the control of the hero and who always opposes him, is called left wing gopi. So these gopis, they are like small little thing and they get angry and they want to control the entire episode, the Leela, what is going on. The Leela should go on their terms. So those are left wing gopis. And then there are right wing gopis. So the right wing gopis, they are very surrendered and sweet and meek and humble in their dealings. So right wing gopi is Chandravali and left wing gopi is Srimati Radharani. I mean, the chief of left and right.
The leaders.
Vamya swabhave mana uthe nirantara, tara madhya uthe Krishne ananda sagara.
Because she is a left-wing gopi, of course, we are discussing Srimati Radharani is being discussed here. Her womanly anger is always awakening. Because she is a left-wing gopi, she is always having that jealous anger. But Krishna derives transcendental bliss from her activities. And this womanly anger, gives so much of bliss and transcendental happiness to the Lord.
Eta shuni bade Prabhu ananda sagara, kaha kaha kahe Prabhu bale damodara. As Sri Chaitanya Mahāprabhu heard these talks, his ocean of transcendental bliss increased. He therefore told Swarup Damodar, go on speaking. And thus Swarup Damodar continued. So when Swarup Damodar started describing the qualities of Srimati Radharani, Chaitanya Mahāprabhu was so pleased.
So now we must understand that to understand this topic, now Chaitanya Mahāprabhu is taking so much of taste in discussing women. But these women are not ordinary women. These are the highest and the topmost devotees of the Lord. And for a strict sannyasi, we have read earlier that how Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is very, very strict in his sannyas vows. And when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is doing, so which means we need to understand that this discussion of all these gopis and the queens and the consorts of the Lord, they are all completely transcendental. So in spiritual world, the day is transcendental, the night is transcendental, the people there, the devotees there are completely transcendental. Their emotions are transcendental. Whatever is described them is transcendental. It has nothing to do, it is no way connected to what experience we have in this material world. Because what we experience in the material world in any relationship is contaminated by the moods. So either it is contaminated by Sattva-gun or by Rajagun or by Tamagun. But these moods do not exist in the spiritual world. So any relationship that Lord has with these devotees, in conjugal love also, it is completely at the transcendental pure level. And therefore, a strict sannyasi like Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is deriving, he's saying his ocean of transcendental bliss increased. So he was experiencing transcendental happiness. It was not, these topics do not evoke, lusty desires like that of an ordinary girl and a boy. But here it is not like that. It is completely spiritual. So that is something we have to be very careful about. Srila Prabhupada writes that to understand this, we must follow the regulative principles. We must chant the holy names. We must study the scriptures. And therefore, we see in Srimad Bhagavatam that this discussion of the gopis only comes in the 10th canto. So the devotees are inspired that we should start from the first canto, gradually understanding all the tattvas. We reach the 10th canto and we completely become purified by that time. So that is how we need to approach this subject matter. Adhiruda Mahabhava Dikara Prema Vishuddha Nirmala Yaiche Darshavana Hema.
Srimati Radharani's love is a highly advanced ecstasy. All her dealings are completely pure and devoid of material tinge. Indeed, her dealings are 10 times purer than gold. So that is how pure it is, and how, as we were discussing, like how it has no tinge of material dealings. So we should not start imagining, when we read such verses, we should not start imagining in our contemporary terms as how that relationship was or how that dealing was, because that is highly advanced subject matter.
And this is a very nice term which we can remember. Dasha Varna Hema. 10 times purer than gold. Now, gold is considered pure.
Purest.
Yeah, it is a very pure metal. It is used in Lord's service. In fact, earlier in Ranganath temple, all the pots used in the service of the Lord were made of gold. So gold is considered very completely pure. It does not require purification. It is by nature it is considered pure. And here Srimati Radharani is being said that her dealings with the Lord. So it may be little inconceivable when we are hearing that she gets angry and then it is jealous anger and and gives Krishna bliss. So that we need to approach that subject very carefully, because her dealings are completely pure, 10 times purer than gold, and we are completely impure. So if we try to approach something very pure, we may impose our misconceptions and therefore we may misunderstand things. So therefore we must always approach these subjects very carefully.
Ananta Krishnira Lila Nayaya Varnana Apane Varnana Yadi Sahasravadana. So from verse number 166, we have jumped directly to verse number 202, because there is a detailed description of Srimati Radharani's ecstasy and their dealings. So we are skipping that portion, and this verse says it is not at all possible to describe the unlimited pastimes of Sri Krishna, even though he himself describes them in his incarnation of Sahasravadan, the 1,000-mouthed Sheshnag. So when Krishna himself expands as Sheshnag and he is trying to describe his glories, and with his 1,000 mouth it is not possible. So it is actually not possible to describe the unlimited pastimes. So though the author of Chaitanya Charitamrta, he has spent verse after verse describing that, and then finally he says this. Moving to the next section, Srivas Thakur describes the opulence of Lakshmi Devi. Srivas hasiya kahe shona damodara Amara Lakshmi ra dekha sampatti vistara.
At this time, Srivas Thakur smiled and told Sarup Damodar, "My dear sir, please hear. Just see how opulent my goddess of fortune is."
So after all the description of Radharani's qualities, Srivas Thakur is talking about Lakshmi Devi's opulences. Vṛndāvane sampad dekha pushpa ki salaya Giri dhatu shikhi pricha gunja phala maya.
As far as Vrindavan's opulence is concerned, a few flowers and twigs, some minerals from the hills, a few peacock feathers, and a plant known as gunja. So there is gunja plant and it has small seeds, gunja berries. And sometimes these are red and black in color, and Krishna will wear that garland. He'll put peacock feather in his hair, and some minerals from the hill that will be used to decorate his face. Cosmetics, he and his gopa friends. And there's some flowers and twigs, and this is
Vrindavan.
This is all about it. This is what Vrindavan's opulence is.
Vṛndāvana dekhi bare gela Jagannatha Shuni Lakshmi Devir mane haila asoyatha. When Jagannath decided to see Vrindavan, he went there, and upon hearing this, the goddess of fortune experienced restlessness and jealousy. That what is there in Vrindavan? Why my Lord is going to see Vrindavan? Why he has this desire?
And why he left
What is it so superior in Vrindavan that he has left me and gone there? Eta sampatti chhadi kene gela Vṛndāvana Tanre hase karite Lakshmi karila sajana.
She wondered, why did Lord Jagannath give up so much opulence and go to Vrindavan? Now we see that if we visit Jagannath temple, we see it's actually one of the most opulent temples. I mean, look at the grandeur of the temple. Look at the kind of offerings that are being offered to Lord Jagannath. That there is an entire market where thousands of people, thousands of visitors, pilgrims and devotees honor prasadam. And the jewels, and sometimes if you go and Lord Jagannath is being dressed and you watch there and you keep watching, and for hours after hours, the devotees, there will be decorating Jagannath and their decoration will not get over. So the kind of opulence, Jagannath has given up and gone to Vrindavan. So Lakshmi Devi is wondering what's happening. To make him a laughing stock, the goddess of fortune made arrangements for much decoration. So that is one reason. So she was thinking that she's gone to Vrindavan, just a forest as was being described earlier, just some flowers and twigs and some gunja berries and some peacock feather. And here, so goddess of fortune comes with such a procession, opulence. She was decorated, her maidservants were decorated, and there was so much of fanfare. And in contrast, Vrindavan was a simple forest. So to make Jagannath a laughing stock, goddess of fortune made such an arrangement.
Tomar Thakur dekhai ta sampatti chadi, patra phala phula lobhe gela pushpa badi. Then the maidservants of the goddess of fortune said to the servants of Lord Jagannath, why did your Lord Jagannath abandon the great opulence of the goddess of fortune and for the sake of patra phal phul lobhe gela pushpa badi? So just for some leaves, some fruits, some flowers, he go to see flower garden of Srimati Radharani. I mean, my goddess Lakshmi has so much of opulence, and leaving everything, he is going to a garden of Radharani to just have some fruit, flower and leaf.
Why?
Why? Yeah. Karma kare kaha vedat shiromani, Lakshmi ra agrete nija prabhudeha ani.
Your master is so expert at everything, but why does he do such things? Now bring your master before the goddess of fortune. So these maidservants of Lakshmi Devi are telling the servants of Lord Jagannath that your master is expert. We understand, but leaving all that and coming here, bring him in the presence of goddess of fortune.
Eta boli Mahalakshmi sabadasi gane, Kati vaste bandi ani Prabhu nij gane. In this way, all the maidservants of the goddess of fortune arrested the servants of Jagannath, bound them around the waist, and brought them before the goddess of fortune. So they were asking questions, they were humiliating these servants of Jagannath, and they were also saying that I thought Jagannath is intelligent, but what he is doing is not very intelligent, leaving everything and going there. So now they are bringing those servants in front of Lakshmi Devi. Lakshmi ra charane ani karaya pranati, dhana dandalaya ara karaya minati.
When all the maidservants brought Lord Jagannath's servants before the lotus feet of the goddess of fortune, the Lord's servants were fined and forced to submit. So, dhana danda. Dand means punishment, and what type of punishment? They had to pay fine, dhan, with money. They had to pay the fine with the punishment, and they were forced to submit minati in front of goddess of fortune.
Rathera upade kare dandera tadana, chora praya kare Jagannath sevakana. All the maidservants began to beat the Rath car with sticks, and they treated the servants of Lord Jagannath almost like thieves. Sababritya gana kahe yoda kari hata, kaliyani diva tomar age Jagannatha.
Finally, all of Lord Jagannath's servants submitted to the goddess of fortune with folded hands, assuring her that they would bring Lord Jagannath before her the very next day. So whatever goddess of fortune did, it worked, and the servants of Jagannath, they submitted with folded hands. They said, Kali, Ani Diva Tumar Aage Jagannath. Tomorrow itself we bring Jagannath in front of you.
Tabe Shantahana Lakshmi Aya Nija Ghara, Amara Lakshmi Ra Sampad Vakya Agochara. Being thus pacified, the goddess of fortune returned to her apartment. Just see, my goddess of fortune is opulent beyond all description. So who's describing this? Srivas Thakur. So Swarup Damodar was glorifying Srimati Radharani, and Srivas Thakur is talking about Lakshmi Devi. And Where was all this happening? So we read that Lakshmi Devi had come in front of Simhadwar. So she was stationed in front of Simhadwar and her servants have brought Jagannath's servants here, and finally they submitted and promised, and Lakshmi Devi goes to her apartment.
दुग्ध आउटी दही माथे तोमर गोपी गाणे आमर ठाकुरानी वैसे रत्न सिंहासने. So earlier there was a description that what is Vrindavan, just some flowers and some leaves and some twigs and some peacock feathers. So that comparison still continues. Srivas Thakur continued to address Swarup Damodar. Your gopis, what are they engaged in? They are engaged in boiling milk, churning yogurt. This is what gopis do. They will go milk the cows, collect the milk, boil the milk. They'll put curd in it. And the yesterday's milk that has been curdled, they will churn that, make butter. This is what gopis do. But my mistress, the goddess of fortune, Lakshmi Devi, what does she do? She sits on a throne made of jewels and gems.
Narada Prakriti Srivas Kare Parihasa Shuni Hase Mahaprabhu Yatani Jadasa. Srivas Thakur, who was enjoying the mood of Narad Muni. So we all know in Panchatattva, Srivas Thakur is actually an expansion of Narad Muni. So he was actually, Srivas Thakur at this time, he was in the mood of Narad Muni and thus he made jokes. Hearing him, all the personal servants of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu began to smile.
प्रभु कहे श्रीवास तो माते नारद स्वभाव ऐश्वर्य भावे तो माते ईश्वर प्रभाव. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu then told Srivas Thakur, my dear Srivas, your nature is exactly like that of Narad Muni. The Supreme Personality of Godhead's opulence is having a direct influence upon you. इहो दामोदर स्वरूप शुद्ध व्रजवासी ऐश्वर्य न जाने इहो शुद्ध प्रेम भासी.
So now Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is comparing his two devotees and he's saying that Srivas, because you have that mood of Narad Muni, so you are getting attracted to the opulence of Lakshmi Devi. And look at him, poor Srivas. He is
Damodar.
Poor Damodar. He is a pure devotee of Vrindavan. He has that heart of Vrindavan. He does not even know what opulence is, for he is simply absorbed in pure devotional service. And now we will see again interesting section here. So Srivas has presented his case. He has mentioned the opulence of Lakshmi Devi. And this section, Swarup Damodar is going to reply him back by describing the opulences of Vrindavan. So for Srivas, there is no opulence in Vrindavan. Now let's look at Vrindavan through the eyes of a pure devotee.
स्वरूप कहे श्रीवास शूना सावधाने वृंदावन संपत तोमार नाहि पड़े माने. Swarup Damodar then retorted, my dear Srivas, please hear me with attention. Savdhan, Shuna Savdhan. You have forgotten the transcendental opulence of Vrindavan. So we need to understand that there's a joking conversation happening between Srivas and Swarup Damodar. And so in that, Swarup Damodar is now going to reveal the opulences of Sri Vrindavan Dham.
Vṛndāvane sahajika ye sampasa sindhu Dwarka vaikuntha sampatar eka bindu. The natural opulence of Vrindavan is just like an ocean. The opulence of Dwarka and Vaikuntha is not even to be compared to a drop. So he's giving an example to make it understand that the opulence of Vrindavan is an ocean and one drop of that ocean is Dwarka or Vaikuntha. And he will describe how.
Parama Purushottama Swayam Bhagavana Krishna Yaha Dhani Taha Vṛndāvana Dhama. Sri Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, full of all opulences, Parama Purushottam Swayam Bhagwan, and his complete opulences are exhibited only in Vrindavan Dham. Krishna Yaha Dhani Taha Vṛndāvana Dham. So the actual or the complete opulences of Krishna are not visible in Dwarka, are not visible in Mathura, but they are actually visible in Sri Vrindavan Dham, the complete opulences.
Chintamani Maya Bhumi Ratnira Bhavana
Chintamani Gana Dasi Charana Bhushana.
Vrindavan Dham is made of transcendental touchstone. Chintamani, that place is Chintamani. Its entire surface is the source of all valuable jewels. And the Chintamani stone is used to decorate the lotus feet of the maid servants of Vrindavan. What to talk of Krishna? Even the maid servants of Vrindavan, their feet are decorated with Chintamani stones. How? Because Vrindavan is completely Chintamani. So Chintamani stone is that stone which converts anything to gold. Whichever we touch Chintamani stone, that gets converted into gold. So much opulence is there that the entire dham itself is made of that transcendental touchstone. Kalpavrikshala Sahajikavana
Pushpafala Vina Keha Namage Anyadana. Vrindavan is a natural forest, and it is not a forest of mango trees and coconut trees and pomegranate trees. It's a natural forest of desire trees. Kalpa Vriksha Latar Yaha Sahajikavan and creepers. It's a forest of desire trees and creepers, and the inhabitants do not want anything but the fruits and flowers of those desire trees. So although these trees are capable of fulfilling any desire of the person who approaches them, but these inhabitants, they don't want anything except some fruits and flowers. So that is the kind of complete bliss and satisfaction they already had, that there is nothing beyond fruits and flowers that they want. So when there's a description that in Vrindavan all you have is some leaf and some fruit and some flowers, it's because the inhabitants don't want anything beyond that.
Ananta Kamadhenu Taha Pire Vane Vane Dugdha Matra Dena Keha Namage Anyadane. In Vrindavan, there are cows that fulfill all desires, Kamadhenu, and their number is unlimited. They graze from forest to forest and deliver only milk. The people want nothing else. So that is the opulence of Vrindavan, that each stone there is Chintamani, which means it can convert anything to gold. Each tree or creeper, it is Kalpavriksha, or you can ask anything and they will fulfill. So here in this material world, an apple will come from an apple tree and mango will come from a mango tree. But an apple tree cannot give us mangoes. But the Kalpavriksha, they can give anything what you desire. So there are such trees, and then there are such cows. Unlimited cows who can fulfill all the desire. They are Kamadhenus. And yet, people are so satisfied. How they are satisfied? They are satisfied with their service and devotion to Krishna. So they don't have any desire. So it's not that in Vrindavan things are not there. In Vrindavan, the desire of sense enjoyment is not there, because the only desire is to please Krishna.
Sahaja lokera katha yaha divya gita Sahaja gamana kare aiche nritya pratita.
In Vrindavan, the natural speech of the people sounds like music, and their natural motion resembles a dance. So when we talk, Prabhupada would quote this often, that in Vrindavan, every step is dance, every word is a song. So that is what this verse is talking, that Sahaj Loke, naturally, people naturally speak, how they speak, Divya Geet. It's musical. And Sahaj Gaman, they are walking. So Sahaj Gaman, they are just like walking. And Yaiche Nritya Pratit, and it appears that they are dancing. So much joy, transcendental bliss is there in Vrindavan, that everything sounds so musical. Everything, it appears so like that people are happy and they are dancing. That is Vrindavan. Sarvatra Jalyaha Amrita Samana Chedananda Jyoti Swadhya Yaha Murtimana.
The water in Vrindavan. So we have discussed the surface of Vrindavan, the stones of Vrindavan Chintamani, we discussed the trees, we discussed the cows, and
the devotees dancing and
the
singing.
devotees are dancing and they're singing. That is their natural status. And now there is a discussion of the water. The water in Vrindavan is nectar. Now, I don't think there is anything else we can call nectar, in the material. What we can call, they will have some juices, they will say, sweet juice, they will say it's like nectar. Honey, they will say like nectar. But the water in Vrindavan is nectar. So in our place, now in our world, the water itself very rare to get. Why? Because you put through RO, or we have to put some filter, and then the taste will change. So the water is like this. But in Vrindavan, the water itself is nectar. Sarvatra jala yaha amrit saman. We have only heard of this word amrit. There the water is amrit. And the Brahma Jyoti effulgence, which is full of transcendental bliss, is directly perceived there in its form. So Brahma Jyoti, which is considered as formless effulgence, which is beyond the universe, that it is directly perceived from its form. From where it is arising? It is arising from the form of the Lord. Lord is personally present, and from that the Brahma Jyoti is visible and it is experienced everywhere. So this is what Krishna talks about in Bhagavad Gita. Krishna is explaining this in 15th chapter. He says that in the material world, we need sun and moon and fire and electricity to light up. But in the spiritual world, all of these are not required. Because why? The planets are self-effulgent. The Lord is there from whom the Brahma Jyoti is emanating.
Lakshmi Jini Gunayaha Lakshmi Rasamaja Krishna Vamshikare Yaha Priya Sakhikaya. The gopis there are also goddess of fortune, and they surpass the goddess of fortune who abides in Vaikuntha. In Vrindavan, Lord Krishna is always playing his transcendental flute, which is his dear companion. So Krishna's Priya Sakhi here is his flute, and the gopis are compared to the goddess of fortune, which is Lakshmi Devi. So they are compared to Lakshmi Devi, and it is mentioned that they themselves are Lakshmi. In fact, they are superior than Lakshmi also, who abides in Vaikuntha. Shriyah Kantah Kantah Parama Purusha Kalpataravo Druma Bhumischintamani Ganamayi Toyam Amritam Katha Ganam Natyam Gamanam Api Vamshi Priya Sakhi Chidanandam Jyoti Param Api Tad Aswadyam Api Cha. The damsels of Vrindavan, the gopis, are super goddesses of fortune. So they are not ordinary, they are super goddesses of fortune. The enjoyer in Vrindavan is the supreme personality of Godhead, Krishna. So only Krishna is there to enjoy, and everyone and everything else is for his enjoyment. The trees there are all wish-fulfilling trees, and the land is made of transcendental touchstone. So the trees can fulfill the desire, and the land can provide all the opulence. The water is all nectar, the talking is singing, the walking is dancing, and the constant companion of Krishna is his flute. The effulgence of transcendental bliss is experienced everywhere. Therefore, Vrindavan Dham is the only relishable abode. So this is from Brahma Samhita. This prayer is from a part of Brahma Samhita, which Krishna Das Kaviraj has quoted here so beautifully. Chintamanischarana bhushanam angananam Shringarpushparavasarvasuranam Vrindavani Rajadhanam Nanu Kamadenu Vrindani Cheti Sukha Sinduraho Vibhuti. The
anklets of the damsels of Vrajbhumi are made of Chintamani stones. So here, if you remember, when Lakshmi Devi came in her palanquin and she was adorned with gorgeous precious stones, but here the Vraj gopis, what anklets are they wearing? They're wearing Chintamani stone anklets. The trees are wish-fulfilling trees, and they produce flowers with which the gopis decorate themselves. So the trees are wish-fulfilling trees, which produce flowers. So gopis, they do, they do not really have any wish to be fulfilled by these trees, but they take the flowers and decorate themselves for the pleasure of the Lord. There are also wish-fulfilling cows, kamdhenus, which deliver unlimited quantities of milk. These cows constitute the wealth of Vrindavan. Thus, Vrindavan's opulence is blissfully exhibited. So here we just for a moment we pause and we understand the whole environment is capable. Every element of the environment is capable of fulfilling any desire that we have. And yet, the inhabitants do not have any desire that way. They do not want anything. They want milk from the cows. They need flowers from the trees. So, because they are so supremely absorbed in the Lord and His service and the bliss that they derive from their service. So there's nothing else that is required by them.
With this, we come to an end. You have the mic, you can speak. So with this, we have come to an end of today's session. We will stop here and we will continue in the next session. Please share your realizations, your comments about today's session. We read all those comments which you write. So thank you all for joining. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.